Picture your last day at a big Canadian bank, or after decades in the public service. Someone from HR walks over and hands you an envelope. Inside is the single highest stakes financial choice you will ever make. Option 1. A guaranteed check of $65,000 a year, every year, for the rest of your life. Option 2. A one-time payment of $1,200,000 Canadian dollars, wired straight into your account, yours to control, yours to invest, yours to spend. Security, or control. That is the commuted value decision. And in 2026, the math sitting quietly inside that envelope has shifted in a way most people completely misunderstand. So let's walk through it, slowly, before you sign anything. First, understand exactly what you'd be giving up. A defined benefit pension is an ancient oak. It has stood for decades, and it drops fruit every single month, regardless of whether the market crashes, regardless of what the news out of Ottawa happens to be that week. Your employer and a team of professional money managers carry the entire risk. Your only job is to collect. A defined benefit plan promises you a set amount calculated on your salary and your years of service. You don't manage it, you don't rebalance it, you don't lie awake over it. You are simply a passenger on a very large, very stable ship. Its opposite is the defined contribution world, where the payout depends entirely on what you contributed and how the markets behaved along the way. Taking the commuted value pushes you off that stable ship and out into open water. So let's look at what that water actually is. Here's the cleanest way to see it. A defined benefit pension is a permanent, flowing river. It doesn't matter if it hasn't rained in a month, the river keeps moving because it is fed by a massive collective reservoir shared by thousands of members. You never see that reservoir, you just see the water, always there, always moving past your feet. Taking the commuted value is like choosing, instead, to fill one giant plastic tank with all of that water at once. Now you own it, every liter, total control. You can pour it however and whenever you like. But you are now also responsible for the evaporation, the leaks, and the drought of a market crash. Drink too fast or let the sun beat down too hard, and your tank runs dry, while the river you walked away from is still flowing, steady, for everyone who stayed. So how big is that tank in 2026? This is where a lot of outdated advice gets it dangerously wrong. Your commuted value moves inversely to interest rates. When rates are high, the plan needs less money set aside today to cover your future checks, so your lump sum gets pruned, smaller. When rates fall, the plan needs more money on hand today, so your lump sum swells. Now, here's the part the headlines from a few years ago got stuck on. Back in 2023, the Bank of Canada's rate spiked all the way to 5%, and commuted values got crushed. Anyone who commuted in that window watched their tank shrink. But that was then. Through 2025 and into 2026, rates came back down. The Bank of Canada's benchmark now sits at 2.25%, with long-term Government of Canada bond yields hovering in the mid-3% range. And as those rates fell, commuted values recovered. The tank you're being offered today is meaningfully bigger than it was at the 2023 bottom, though still below the record highs of the cheap money era around 2021. The lesson: do not anchor to a headline from 3 years ago. Your value is recalculated month to month. Get your actual number, on paper, for this month. Whatever the size of the tank, the deeper question is who flies the plane. Staying in the defined benefit plan is like booking a seat on a commercial jumbo jet. You don't choose the route, the movie, or the meal, but you have a professional pilot, a massive fuel reserve, and decades of engineering keeping you in the air. Taking the commuted value is like being handed the keys to a private four-seater. You are the pilot now. You can fly wherever you want, on your own schedule. But when a financial storm rolls in, there is no co-pilot and no backup engine. You absorb 100% of the gravity, 100% of the market risk, entirely by yourself. And before you even leave the ground, the Canada Revenue Agency wants a word. The CRA treats a large lump sum as a windfall, and it strictly caps how much you're allowed to shelter from tax. This is the maximum transfer value, the MTV. Only a portion of your commuted value can be rolled, tax-free, into a locked-in retirement account, a LIRA. Everything above that ceiling is paid to you as cash and taxed as ordinary income, all in a single year. Here's the trap in numbers. Imagine your commuted value is $1 million, but your maximum transfer value is only $700,000. $700,000 slides safely into your lira, but the remaining $300,000 lands on your tax return as ordinary income, stacked on top of everything else you earned that year. In the top brackets, close to half of that excess can vanish to the CRA before you have invested a single dollar. Now, if you happen to be carrying unused RRSP contribution room, you can shelter a slice of it there. But most people this deep into a career have long since used theirs up, so your $1 million tank springs a serious leak the very moment you fill it. There is another quiet advantage the river holds. Many of Canada's largest public sector plans, think Ontario Teachers or HOOP, build in inflation protection, often tied to the Consumer Price Index, so your monthly check climbs as the cost of living climbs. That indexing isn't always fully guaranteed. In some plans, it's conditional on how well the plan is funded, but where it exists, it is enormously valuable. Because if you take the commuted value into a lira, matching that inflation hedge is now your job. You'd have to build a portfolio that reliably outpaces inflation for 30 or 40 years, through every crash and every recovery, with no collective reservoir behind you. That is far, far harder than any brochure makes it sound. Which brings us to the single most underrated word in this entire decision: longevity. A defined benefit pension is not just retirement income, it is longevity insurance. It pays for as long as you breathe. Live to 85, it pays. Live to 95, it keeps paying. Live to 105, and the river is still flowing. StatCan data shows a 65-year-old Canadian today can, on average, expect to reach their mid-80s, and a real share will push well beyond that. A lira offers no such promise. It is a finite resource. If your investments stumble, or you simply outlive the plan your money was built on, the tank hits zero, and there is no refill coming. This is the feeling almost nobody braces for. On any random morning after you've taken the lump sum, the start of the work week, coffee in hand, no alarm to answer to, the responsibility is suddenly yours, and only yours. You have traded passive certainty for active responsibility. No one is watching the river for you anymore. You are the one standing guard over the tank. So when does taking the water tank genuinely win? Because for the right person, it absolutely does. First, health. If you have a serious health condition, or a family history pointing to a shorter life expectancy, longevity insurance is simply worth less to you, and that lump sum in your hands right now may serve you and your family far better than a check you may not collect for long. Second, legacy. This is the big one, and it is the one thing a defined benefit pension flatly cannot do. In most cases, once you and your spouse are gone, the pension stops. It does not pass down to your children. A commuted value can. If leaving a substantial inheritance matters more to you than a guaranteed income you can't outlive, the tank lets you pour that water to the next generation. The river never will. So, security or control? There is no universal right answer here. There is only the right answer for you. Real wealth in Canada was never about the biggest number in the envelope. It's about resilience, building a retirement that survives whatever the next 30 years decide to throw at it. The defined benefit river gives you resilience through certainty. The commuted value tank gives you resilience through control, but only if you are disciplined enough to manage the drought entirely on your own. True freedom is simply knowing which kind of person you are. The one who wants to sit on the bank and watch the river flow, steady, indexed, and forever. Or the one who wants to grip the controls, feel the gravity, and fly the plane. So get your real commuted value number this month, run it past a fee-only advisor who knows the CRA rules cold, and then decide, with clear eyes, which seat is yours. If this video helped, like and hit subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.